Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about eyeshadow palette formula. Eyeshadow brands that do quality at their best. I'm going to talk about there. I actually have like 12 brands, I think. Let me see.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Actually, 14.
14 brands that I want to mention that they do eyeshadow formulas really well. If you love a color story, I don't think you would be disappointed by these brands. So I have a few high-end brands and I have most of them as an indie brand. So let's begin because I love talking about eyeshadow palettes and I want to talk about best of the best so that you have your eyes on those brands. Okay, let's begin. The first brand that totally surprised me this year was Fantasy Cosmetica. I'm very impressed by the formula, the mattes as well as the shimmers. The mattes blend beautifully, they build so nicely, and the shimmers are very sparkly, very elegant looking on the eyes. The shimmers are more like bam. If you love shimmers, you would absolutely love it. Like some sparkly shimmers, you would absolutely love them. I definitely want Fantasy Cosmetica. I know you're hearing me. I definitely want you to experiment more with the shimmer shades. I feel like these on the eyes look very similar. These on the eyes would look very similar. I want a little bit more variety, just a little bit more. I think like if these two blues, they are different. Like, don't get me wrong, it's definitely different, but I feel like if instead of one of the blues, if it was like a green iridescent shimmer, it would have just made it. If out of these like champagne-y shades with like blue sparkle and the other one with like pink sparkle, I feel like if it was like a pink shimmery iridescent shade or like a shifty shade, that would make a little bit of difference and it would go still with the palette. I really love the formula. I'm really impressed by Fantasy Cosmetica. They definitely surprised me. Okay, they really did surprise me and I'm very excited about this brand. I cannot wait to see what they come out with the future. I even love the layout of this palette. Rather than a 9-pan eyeshadow palette, I really love a good 12-pan eyeshadow palette. I feel like I don't reach out for my 9-pan eyeshadow palette as much as I reach out for this size palette, and 12 I feel like gives us ample amount of variety and the price point is right for Fantasy Cosmetica. So I really want to shout out to them. A brand to definitely look out for. Let's talk about Simply Posh Cosmetics. Simply Posh Cosmetics does a lot of palettes that appeal to me. Now, if you do not like bam shimmery shadows like that's like super sparkly or textural on the eyes, I feel like you would absolutely love Simply Posh Cosmetics. Their layout is just so perfect. I feel like they have nailed down on their layout. I love that the two rows are mattes and the center rows is full duochromes, and that's exactly what I want from them. This is my favorite palette from them. They're absolutely, this close second is the Coastal palette, but this has my heart. Okay, I really love it. The shimmers are sparkly, but they never crease on my eyelids. I've said that a million times, but they do color story in such a way that it appeals to me, and their mattes are so blendable. They are really pretty. They're impactful on the eyes. They blend effortlessly. The shimmers are so beautiful. They're updated shimmers especially, so nice, and I love the size of the palette too. Really love. I love the path that they are taking and they're doing some amazing color story. If you like a color story from Simply Posh Cosmetics, you would absolutely love it. I have a code with Simply Posh Cosmetics. It's Smithy to save you 10% off. Just amazing. These are all amazing palettes. I'm going to just repeat myself, okay? Let's talk about high-end palette. A high-end brand that gets me excited because I cannot go wrong with their formula is Huda Beauty. I love Huda Beauty's formula. Like I'll be mentioning a brand towards the end, which I am like, I'm okay about it. Am I disappointed with the price? Maybe I am a little, but they do amazing. They used to do amazing color study. But even with Huda Beauty, I would say their Mercury Retrograde palette that I have in my collection, That's my favorite. I definitely want them to experiment a little bit more rather than going more monochromatic with their Pretty Grunge palette, with their Naughty Nude palette, with the Rose Quartz palette. I loved when they did like the Mercury Retrograde palette. But nevertheless, we're talking about the quality. If you like a color story of a Huda Beauty palette, I think you cannot go wrong. And you can see a theme going on. I love a good matte that blends, that builds on my skin tone. But I like a shimmer that's not like super textural. I do have those palettes also, and I'll definitely mention when it is more textural. These are all like smooth shimmers, but they sparkle and shine, and that's what I love about it. Same way that you can see, I'll get to this palette what I use, but the way it sparkles, it's very elegant looking in my opinion. Like, they don't have so much of texture going on. They're very smooth on the eyes, but they're smart, but they're sparkly and dimensional. That's what I love, and that's exactly what Huda Beauty does with their palettes. I really love the formula of Huda Beauty. I cannot be disappointed. I always get giddy when they are coming out with a new bigger palette for the year. I always keep my eyes on it because I know that I can count on their formula. It's just a matter of color story if I want to pick it up or not. I never picked out like the Huda Beauty 9-pan eyeshadow palette. I've always run out and got the bigger eyeshadow palette just because I feel like, again, more variety. I can definitely rely on the formula, and I definitely feel that the formula of the 9-pan eyeshadow palette and the formula of the 18-pan eyeshadow palette is a little different. I love the formulas that are made in Italy, okay? That's another thing. Okay, let's talk about another indie brand which knocks my socks off. Like, with every release, I'm drooling the color story. Like, they do color story so amazingly well. Their mattes are so beautiful. Their shimmers are even prettier. I love their multichrome, especially. They are just an amazing brand to look out for. If you love a color story, again, you will never be disappointed. And I have my eyes on one of the palette just because that is such a bigger palette. I'm not buying it or not like plunging to buy it anytime soon. I'm talking about Bella Beauty Bar. Bella Beauty Bar does amazing color stories. Amazing color stories. I have several more in my collection, but this one definitely has my heart. Yes, it is again a monochromatic pink, purpley tone eyeshadow palette, but the color story, the formula of the mattes, the shimmers, the multichromes, everything on the eyes are just spectacular, gorgeous, amazing quality. I definitely feel if you love a color story, you will not be disappointed. Like, look at each of the shadow, the way it shifts. It's so amazing to even look at it. The way it blends on the eyes. I have never had an eye look with Bella Beauty Bar eyeshadow palette that I have not liked. I really love it. I just don't dip into these like hot pinks and hot reds, but everything else is just amazing. Just amazing. I really love it, and I cannot wait to see the fall releases, the Halloween releases of Bella Beauty Bar, because they absolutely kill it with their releases. Talking about holiday release and Halloween release, there's another brand that does amazing Halloween releases, and I'm talking about Gourmande Girls. Gourmande Girls does some amazing color story. If you love a color story from them, again, you'll not be disappointed. Their mattes are more like buildable formula. They're not like thinly packed by any means, and they do amazing color stories. Like, look at these mattes, such yummy different tone of mattes, I cannot even tell you. And their shimmers are so sparkly, again, very elegant looking on the eyes. They also do sometimes like satin shades. Like, this is a satin shade that they did. Even this one, this is like a shifty shade, but again, a satin shade in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of satin shades, but their shimmery shades that they do is amazing. The tone of the mattes they choose in their palette is outstanding, I would say. Cannot wait to see what Gourmande Girls have in future for us. I know they are collaborating with Ladybug Glow, which another brand, you know, that I absolutely love for their shimmers. I really love them. I cannot wait to see what magic they create together. Very happy about Gourmande Girls. Okay, let's talk about another indie brand which actually just released one palette so far, but they're coming out with 2 more palettes. But this brand actually shocked me with the quality with their first release. Krypton Cosmetics Burnt Forest palette, amazing quality that they have. Like, I was like, how can they even do it in the first release like this? They have amazing formula and their shimmers are beautiful. Again, they have some different textures of shimmers. This is more textural. This blue, that's more textural. You know what I really like? Actually, this one is also very textural, but I love it. I love this one. But my favorite formula from them is this green and this blue, which is like the thinly, it's like a toppery shade. It looks wet on the eyes, but it shifts so magically. Those are my favorite kind of shades, and they did give me those like 2 special shades in this, which I absolutely love, and the mattes were amazing. I really loved this palette. I cannot wait to see what I've seen what they're coming out with. I'm just waiting for their swatches. So I really were impressed by the Krypton Cosmetics formula. Okay, let's talk about another high-end brand which absolutely knocked my socks off, and that mainly was because of the color story, I would think, but also their formula. Their formula is amazing, nobody's denying that, but they're pricey, also not denying. I'm talking about Huda Beauty. This was the Major Dimension 2 palette, the Rose palette. You know how much I love my pinky mauvey tones. So this was definitely not a surprise that I would love, but I have used this palette so much in my life. Like, I love those iridescent toppery shades, but the mattes, they are amazing. Like, as soon as I open this, I want to wear it like tomorrow. It's just pretty on the eyes. It's so pretty on the eyes. I've always loved the looks that I have gotten from this palette, and I cannot wait to see what they have coming. I always again get excited with Patricia releases. It's just a matter of like the price point, the color story that speaks to me, and I'll get it. This, I knew that I would use it so very much, and I've definitely got my money's worth out of this palette because I use it that much. Okay, let's talk about another indie brand, which I don't buy everything from them. Again, it's a matter of color story that speaks to me because I know that their formula will not be disappointing in my opinion, and I'm talking about Odens Eye. This Jewels and Gems palette was a smash hit in my opinion. Their Merry Christmas, the Christmas palette was amazing. Their collaboration palettes are also absolutely amazing, but this had its own magic. I really loved the color story of this palette. This was like me, but different, but outside my comfort zone. I absolutely love Odens Eye formula. I really was very impressed with this palette. I cannot wait. I actually recently did like an office look with this purple. I popped this purple on the lid and this in the inner corners, and that was amazing. That's amazing. Like, you don't need much to do with Odens Eye palettes, but they absolutely give us like smashing packaging with smashing quality of the eyeshadow palettes, and I absolutely love it. Let's talk about, now it's all indie brands except one mention of a high-end brand later on. Okay, let's talk about Adept Cosmetics. I absolutely get excited with Adept's releases. It's just a matter of which formula are you giving it to us, because I feel like there's a squishier shimmer formula that Adept does, and there is more like a textural shimmer formula that Adept does. I love the textural one rather than the squishier one, because the squishier one, my eyes eat up that squishier shimmer formula and it creases very badly on my eyelids. But the formula that Adept's Flying Fiddles have, the Element 115 they have some amazing quality, and that's what I love. This is my favorite from them, no doubt. The formula that was used in this palette, I definitely want them to use more formulas of this one, because this never creases on me. This has some elegant shimmers and the mattes blended beautifully. This was a smashing hit in my opinion from their release this year, and I cannot wait to see what they have coming for us in future. I did not pick up their recent palette, the iridescent. It looked amazing, but I knew when I was seeing people like swatch it, the way it was dipping in the pan, I was like, this is a squishier formula, Smithy, you would not use it. So I skipped that one, but this one was amazing. I do have a code with Adept Cosmetics, it's SMITHYSONY, to save you 10% off. Okay, let's talk about Unearthly Cosmetics, because I feel all the palettes that I have from Unearthly Cosmetics have been amazing, but this just stands out like no other. I've used this like no other, and I'm talking about the Sorcerer's Smoke palette. I also love Fall Magic palette so very much. I love that cool tone palette. What is that called? Don't Be Jelly palette. That was amazing. I just love these formula. I love the size. I love the way how it like looks in the pan. It looks very elegant, very sturdy. I feel like the price point is a little on the higher sides, but Unearthly does a lot of sales. So I would pick it up when they do a sale, and they generally do a 30% off. They do a Black Friday 40% off, and that is when I actually get my palettes from Unearthly Cosmetics. I'm actually eyeing their Dreamer palette. I'm just not buying it just because I feel like it's a little closer to my Cradled in Ice palette from Fantasy Cosmetica, and I'm like, I know that they'll do a color story that will appeal to me a little bit more, but you also know how much I love my purple, so I'm eyeing my Dreamer palette. But this is amazing quality. Shimmers are absolutely elegant looking. They're not squishy by any means. They're very textural. They're very dimensional on the eyes, and the tone of the mattes that they choose again is a very, very pretty. I really love Unearthly Cosmetics formula, so definitely a shout out to them. Okay, let's talk about Glaminatrix Cosmetics. Glaminatrix Cosmetics, they have just upped their eyeshadow game altogether, and I've loved all the palettes that they have recently released from like from when, like I think Into the Night palette, the Rich Romantic palette, the Sugar and Spice palette, the Barely Basic palette. The Barely Basic palette is amazing. This is so everyday, so glam. It can do so much more than you can think. It is amazing, you guys. This palette and the quality is amazing. I love that they went like smaller pan and more variety, so I can get like more shades out of them with their amazing quality, and I can get those special formulas but in a smaller pan, and I'm never hitting pan on an eyeshadow palette, so this is perfect for me. I love Glaminatrix Cosmetics formula. It is one to look out for. Like, I get giddy when Glaminatrix comes out with a palette, and that is for a reason. I feel like they absolutely does a amazing job in the indie community with their eyeshadow palettes. I love not only eyeshadow palettes, actually their liquid blushes. I absolutely love their lipsticks are amazing, their lip liners are amazing, but eyeshadow palettes knocks it off. Okay, knocks it off. I have a code with Glaminatrix Cosmetics, it's SMITHYSONY, to save you 10% off. One to look out for. Amazing quality. Let's talk about the eyeshadow palette that I'm wearing today. Actually, this is another brand that absolutely shocked me with their quality. I never expected to love an eyeshadow palette this much, and I'm talking about Whatsup Beauty Dragon Eye palette. Their quality is outstanding. Their shimmers are the shimmers that I really want in my life. I want everything that they own. Like, I love the quality and the choice of mattes and shimmers in their palette. I felt like this palette was made for me. I love my purple, so this was right up my alley. I did not like greens, but these greens are magical. I'm wearing this shade on my lid, and I have this on my crease, this on my inner third of the crease, and I have this on the outer corner of the eyelid, and it's just such a beautiful palette. Such a beautiful palette. I cannot tell you how excited I get when Whatsup Beauty releases anything, because they do quality at their best. I really love them. Very impressed by them, and cannot wait to see what they have coming for us in future. And the brand that absolutely swept me away with their quality, with their matte quality, with their shimmer quality is Enle Rain Cosmetics. Enle Rain Cosmetics have so many palettes that I love, so I cannot pick and choose, but this palette is amazing, amazing. Their mattes itself is just outstanding. The variety that I can get is amazing. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love this palette and how much I dip into this palette. I have non-stop used it. I refuse to keep this in a drawer because I use it that much. I really love Ensley Rain's formula, and I cannot see myself not having an Ensley Rain palette. I have a majority of the entire collection that they have in their website. Yes, they can be a little pricey, but they're working on it. I just love every aspect of it. The pans are magnetic. You can move shadows here and there. The quality is right up there. I do have a code with Ensley Rain Cosmetics. If you want to save some money, use the code Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. But Ensley Rain palettes, if you have not tried it, try it and see. You'll not go back. I'm telling you, you'll not go back because they're amazing. Okay, let's talk about honorable mention, because I know a lot of people love it and I do love their palettes, but not all. I won't say I love all of the palettes, but with the price point, I feel like they need to go back into experimenting a little bit more. And I'm talking about Natasha Denona. Yes, I did not mention Natasha Denona, and I do like Natasha Denona. That's the only reason why I'm mentioning this in this video, but I want them to experiment a little bit more. This is my dream palette. This is my favorite palette that they've done so far. I feel like this is more like a mid-tones. I feel like this is more tan girl friendly. They do a lot of eyeshadow palettes that are more fair girls and like lighter tone friendly, and I want them to experiment a little bit more. I want them to experiment a little bit more with their shade ranges as well as the tone of the shades that they use in the palette. I love the quality of their palettes. It's not knocking my socks off like any other brands that I have mentioned, but for an everyday consumer, I can see how you guys can love this because I use it in office all the time. I have several palettes from them, and that's why I'm talking about this. I have their I Need a Nude palette. I do have their what is that rose thing? Let me show you. So I have their retro palette, I have their My Dream palette, I have the I Need a Nude palette, and I have their golden palette. Golden palette, again, I've customized mine a little bit, but imagine this palette without that black, without that burgundy, and without this brown, and without this, and few more golden shades. Very boring in my opinion, and especially for a tan skin tone person, it's very one tone. And when I'm investing like $70 on a palette, I don't want a one tone, I want variety. So that was a little off. I'm a little bit more tan right now as compared to what I was when I was not tan. And this palette, when I was not tan, it was amazing. But now when I'm tan, it is very one note, especially their especially their mattes. The shimmers are beautiful and elegant. I love their wet formula that they do, but I feel like they can do much better in the shade ranges for sure. Retro palette is the one that I really liked because I feel like now they're giving us more variety and more like deeper shades, and I want them to give us like options. Again, this is very monochromatic palette, and I want them to just step out a little bit outside the comfort zone. My favorite is still the My Dream palette because I felt like they gave us a little something with this palette. Little. I cannot wait to see what they come out in the future. Will I buy another Natasha Denona palette anytime soon? Only if they do a little bit more like variety. Only if they do a little bit more depth in their palettes is when I can see myself going and grabbing a Natasha Denona palette, because I do like their quality. I really do like their quality, and I have several more. I have like their small pan eyeshadow palettes a lot. This is like the bigger palette, but I do have their Love palette. I had their Gold palette. I had several more, but I still feel that they need to just step out a little bit. Just give us a little bit more variety. I think they did an absolutely amazing job with the Yucca palette. I'm not a green person, so that's why I did not buy it. But I cannot wait to see if they can do something like Yucca in a different jumbled up variety formula. She's just stopped having fun with palettes. I feel like she's just playing a little safe, and that's why it not I'm not leaning forward towards it. I do have a code with Natasha Denona, Smithy Sony, to save you 15% off. And if you do use my code, I really thank you very, very much. But again, I want a little bit more variety. So I'm ending it in that note, but all the eyeshadow brands that I spoke in this video, I absolutely love and adore, and I feel like you seriously cannot go wrong with any of the brands that I mentioned today. But that's all for today, guys. If you did like this video, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.